another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Andrew.
Kaila.
Charlie.
And Josh. And what are we going over today, Dan?
Nature by Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Oh, okay. I know people that are enthusiasts. Brianna from our second season. She's an Emerson enthusiast. Emerson is her fave. And Dr. Bordelon, who is the respected American literature instructor. That is an important reason why the show came to be.
So thank you very much.
And we plan to have him on the show.
Yes.
What's the first question?
In the simplest terms, how do you feel Emerson sees nature?
He sees...
Pretty much as God.
In the simplest terms.
He sees it as
God with a capital G.
He sees it as pretty much the divine being, but he sees it in not just the material form, but also the spiritual, and there really is nothing that we can do to... none of our afflictions really allow nature to see its greatest, but then again, it's just that way of living that we can't break away from.
Also, with what you said, the material objects is also, and there's always a method to my madness. For those of you that know, I go off on these tangents a lot, but I always try and usually I make a good connection. Letting go of the material possessions, the Snapple, which is what's in here. If any of you are a future employer, this is all raspberry Snapple. See, okay.
Emerson did argue that in order to obtain total solitude, you have to clear yourself of as much of those excessive things as possible.
I can't have my Snapple. I can't have my cookies. I can't play my drums. That's honestly my drumming. When I play drums, that's my therapy. Eating cookies and drinking Snapple, that's another therapy. Going on the treadmill is a forced kind of therapy. So in order to keep doing this, it's a vicious cycle. I'm going on to stuff, but it's basically when somebody is. But being that Emerson is describing nature as divine, as you said, or God with a capital, as I said, with God with a capital G. Am I going to get hit with lightning? Good. All right. Still, you leave all this stuff behind. It's kind of like when you're about to pass away. You're going into heaven, and it's like, what is there that I can do? What is there that I can enjoy? Am I going to be happy sitting on a cloud going ding 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 on a harp? No, there's more to it, and more about that later at noon at the 5 o'clock. Anyway, Josh, back to you.
I was going to just pass it on over to Andrew and Kaila.
Yes, you right?
Yeah, good.
Well, I thought that, like you were saying, it's like what's at the forefront is removing yourself from society and become isolated in nature. And I found each of the 8 chapters were in an approach, respectively, how to come to and embrace and perceive nature, and it is especially when it gets towards the end with I think it's the section the idealism.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of the unity of man, matter, and nature that is.
Well, I will say this. You know, nature. It is beautiful. The sunset, the valley, the mountains, all of that. But it's all, the ocean. Oh my goodness, outer space. Still, don't get me wrong. There is still nothing wrong with enjoying a nice sunset or a nice sunrise over the harbor, the man-made harbor with the boats and the the sailboats and whatnot. And still having that little bit of man-made in there, but still having all of that come to play, and then coming in with bagpipes and drums and just a marching band. I don't know, they're more man-made, but still, that really, there's nothing wrong with indulging in that every now and then. Dreaming. You're dreaming.
What Andrew was saying, the difficulty I had with grasping the naturalism is it was a little bit contradictory, because naturalism to me is the idea that nature is nature, and nature has no bias, whether good or bad.
But yeah, no, true. But a lot, well, like what I was trying to articulate from what I was picking up in idealism, it was like it was perception, and actually, like I may have looked it into a little bit too deep, but it really started to feel more like virtual reality. If this is sin, because it placed you as like, you could be religious, you could be an atheist. There is the invisible world that you don't see. And what nature is either the terminus or the circumference of perception. The thing is, like, natural laws work, and light is still gonna work in accordance with the shape of your eye, and you're still gonna perceive things, and how you take that in. From there, you start to. He implies to learn from your intuition as opposed to your common sense.
Yeah, I would say that is,
and which is extremely difficult.
My opinion is that both are necessary, but I feel that with regard to him, I think he's known for showing that fortitude to go with it, to trust your intuition as opposed to what the status quo is saying, because Transcendentalism is all about individualism.
Yeah, I believe he had a grander idea as like the fruition of this entire thesis that something would be revealed once like man and nature is unified and understood as, but it's just not just man, but like everybody within the same perception that something would be revealed.
I would say that much. True. Do we want to go to the next question?
What chapter caught your attention the most, and why?
Chapter that caught my attention the most. I would say, I think there were just snippets of everything.
I'm gonna say the same thing.
But I would say that I was the idea of beauty and how we perceive it, and how I would say he deems it as the plastic power of the human eye, and the plastic part is...
That was a key symbol, the eye. It kept...
the transparent eyeballs were going to be
that's
going
what I
over.
was
Like,
trying
It
to
kept
think of.
echoing throughout the...
But the idea is... there was something I marked down. It's...
I take notes in the text, and I don't have it with me.
the language and how we perceive it as well. I would say that you have that... What is, for instance, the tree? The tree is a human term. We have absolutely no idea what it would be called without humanity. And I think that he does a smart job getting at that, because if you strip nature down into its essence, it would have little to no human influence.
Basically,
Which things would be really different.
Yeah, right. No, I think I know what you're trying to say. Is except, your tree, bush is the same thing. You have
Bush and shrub are the same thing.
well, yeah, but still. And then you have a meadow. Now we're going on a larger scale. Like you have a meadow, and then a valley, and mountains. And to me, that's beautiful. Also,
But these are all human terms too.
Exactly. So
And then some of
It's
them
like-
are naturally nature,
yeah,
and then others are human developed.
yeah. Because we have to form the words to say tree, sun, Snapple.
Alrighty, does anybody want to jump in on this?
That was within the chapter of language, where the attributes of nature. I mean, just like with like love is in heart. I mean, there's just man's symbolic imprint on nature is, I don't know, I have an idea in it.
He does a really,
Dive.
Emerson does an
That's-
exceptional job.
That's the thing with Emerson's very much text. He's not necessarily he has a lot of ideas, but he's very dry with them.
I literally wrote basically the OG hipster. I thought I was really going to like nature, and then I really, really didn't. I think he is incredibly pretentious. I think he was incredibly boring, and I found myself rolling my eyes at a lot of what I was reading. I found it to be incredibly hard to get through and very difficult to understand. And I thought he was very
wasn't
boring.
easy.
OG hipster.
The OG hipster original.
Okay. But I would say, with regard to transcendentalism, I prefer Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau.
So what? I'm not going to make that
His
joke.
works are more engaging, and he actually is hands-on with what he's doing. Emerson was known for just taking his chair, sitting out in the yard, and looking at nature.
Yeah.
Thoreau was actually
Interacting.
taking off his clothes,
Okay, yes.
going into nature, and surviving.
And building a house.
And then, in a civil disobedience, he was actually demonstrating his refusal to pay a tax he didn't believe in,
And I think that's... And
went to prison.
Still, yeah, and it was... How much was the tax? 2 cents?
$5?
Oh,
Or
oh.
no, $5 was the amount for him to pay to get his college diploma.
Right.
And he
Today...
yeah, it
Yeah,
was
it's not-
$100 just to get the diploma.
Yeah. Like, really?
Mm.
I don't know.
Alrighty then, do we want to go to the next question?
Yeah.
Explain the transparent eyeball. Why use an eyeball and not another body part?
The eye can see. The heart can't see.
The eye can see and just see.
I can see.
From what Emerson writes, as the transparent eyeball, I am nothing, I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me, which means that nature is the observer and only the observer. There's a lot that nature can say, but number one, we don't listen.
What?
And number two, the only thing that it can do is be. It can't really. It can't say something. It can only be there and watch everything go to destruction. It can't really give its advice. It may have, for all we know, it could have its advice. I would think that it's a living being, but.
And if I may, now, that's not a joke or a pun I'm making, which is a shocker for a lot of you maybe.
It works.
But still, yeah, well, no, really, because nature with the transparent eyeball, the letter I still, it's like a pun, but it's actually not a pun. I'm pointing out that nature is, even though it's a transparent eyeball, the first letter is I, and then you think of it as I,
Mm-hmm. And I think he makes a good point saying that there's a greater sense of nature in the wilderness than there is in villages or on the streets, because once an aspect to nature becomes man-made, it loses its that particular sense of
Its essence. Would you say that? Does it say it loses essence?
Yeah,
or it's
that may be that word. I wouldn't. The fact that it is natural. It's not as natural when we interfere and alter it.
And also, the sphere is probably the most natural, perfect shape that can happen too. It represents the earth. And so, I mean, there's a.
Don't eat dirt, by the
perception.
way. I'll explain that in a minute. Don't eat dirt. Hey, Charlie, here, have some dirt cake. Oh, gee, thanks.
I also thought of the idea of like the third eye, and Emerson really looks at this as like being the gateway to truth and to reach essentially like his idea of nirvana.
And
And
I like that.
thanks. And that kind of plays into the whole idea of like opening your third eye to nature, really taking it in and absorbing what you can and using that knowledge to get there.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something, if you have the ability to do that, that is a good thing. I think with the transparent eyeball, though, it only has the ability to absorb and just keep taking in, but unable to release.
I see what you mean.
Next question.
Where do you see Emerson among transcendentalists?
Transcendental.
He's the farmer.
And Adele?
He's the creator, but I prefer Thoreau. That's how I see it.
He's very thorough as well.
I think Walt Whitman was too.
Yeah, Whitman was a transcendentalist. Even Emily Dickinson's been. Emerson and Thoreau are the key participants, and
Except, but as we touched on earlier, Thoreau wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. Built a log cabin with the trees, and he used the water, and I think there was a pond nearby. And did he? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he hunt? Did he have
if he did, it would have only been to survive.
Well, no, but
I think that
what I'm trying to get at without saying it, well, I'm gonna have to now. Did he have a gun with him so he could hunt?
I'm not
or
sure.
am I just I'm thinking of something else then.
I feel like maybe he did have a gun with him. I don't remember if he hunted. I feel like I remember him bringing food from town,
It
though.
was as little as possible,
Yeah.
because there was. He only brought as much as he needed to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Or protection. Just
So
saying.
if we're playing this or that, and we said Emerson and Thoreau, I think it's unanimous that we would go for Thoreau.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I never read him.
I think that's pretty telling. But then again, Emerson was an essayist primarily. He was just that. He was a public speaker, so.
Yeah. And Emerson, Lake and Palmer are a very great band. Who knew? Here we go. Are we gonna do that every time I make a cruddy pun?
It's becoming a trend for season 5.
All right. Well.
Already. Any final thoughts? You may. We'll see if we go over this again. I know Dr. Bordelon would have himself a heyday because he spends a lot of time teaching Transcendentalism.
Was this the textbook I chewed out? Anyway.
It was probably one of them.
Well, I know.
This is
It's a
Volume
long
B
story.
of the Norton Anthology of American Literature from 1820 to 1865.
Volume B.
And there's a big chunk of transcendental works. Emerson and Thoreau make multiple appearances. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of The Very Gladiators. For now, keep reading.